what we're going to do in order to change these equations to general form is we're going to complete the square. So back in semester 1, when we completed the square, we grouped the x terms together. So we're going to do that. We're going to group our x terms together. And this time, we're also going to group our y terms together. So I'm going to put my x squared and my minus 10x together. And I'm going to leave myself just a little bit of space on purpose. I'm going to group my y terms together. So y squared plus 8y with a little bit of space. And I'm going to move my constant term to the other side of the equal sign. So how do I cancel my plus 5 and get it to the other side? I subtract 5. Good. All right. So the process of completing the square is we took half of the middle term. Half of the middle term here, negative 5 is, sorry, I just said I gave it away. Half of negative 10 is negative 5. And then, how about if I change colors here? So this is negative 5. And then negative 5 squared is positive 25. All right, so the reason I did that, so if I multiply x minus 5 times x minus 5, I would get this x squared minus 10x plus 25. Looking up here on this first line, I just added a 25 that I didn't have before. Everything in green was original. The red is new. Well, to keep my equation balanced, since I added, are you flipping me off? If I added 25 to the left-hand side, I'm going to add 25 to the right-hand side. There we go, because I'm keeping my equation balanced. Whatever I do to the left-hand side, I do to the right-hand side, and vice versa. I know that. All right, all right, so now I'm going to complete the square a second time, this time with my y squared terms. I'm going to take half of positive 8. What's half of positive 8? Positive 4. And what's positive 4 squared? Positive 16. I didn't have the plus 16 before, so I'm going to add the 16 there. All right, so what do I have on the right-hand side? I have 36, right? When I add these guys together, I end up with a 36. Does this equation look like it's a graphing form of a circle? What? Yes. Graphing form of a circle. What's my HK here? What's the center of my circle? 5, negative 4. Beautiful. And what's my radius equal to? 6. And so now I can graph because I have my equation in graphing form and I have my pertinent information here that I need in order to graph my circle. Okay? All right. So let's try this again. Honestly, I would divide everything by 4 and go from there. But let's say you didn't see that. Let's just say, okay, let's just follow the process. So I grouped my x squared terms together, right? 4x squared plus 24x. I grouped my y squared term to get my y terms. There we go. That's it. That's all I have. And then I'm going to move that 44 to the other side. So I've got my x squared terms here. I've got my y squared term here. When we were completing the square with parabolas and we had an a value other than 1, do you remember what we had to do? We had to factor out just that a value. So this would be 4 times x squared plus 6x, and there's where I'm going to leave my little bit of space. And I'll just pull out this 4 here just to kind of keep that going. All right, so now I'm ready to complete the square. So I still have the 4 here, and I'm going to have x plus something squared. So this is where I take half of my middle term, which is 3, and when I square that, it's 9. So how much did I just add to this line that I didn't have before? 36. I added 4 times 9, right? So I'm going to have to, on this side, also add 4 times 9. And then over here, well, I can just leave this like this. All right, so I have 36 and 44 is 80. All right. Does this look like it's in graphing form? No, because graphing form, I didn't have anything in front of those parentheses. How could I get rid of the numbers in front of the parentheses? Divide by 4. See, are you saying, did you hear me say I would have started by dividing by 4? Just because I saw that 4 went into every number? All right. So this ends up now with x plus 3 quantity squared plus y squared equals 20. So now we can identify our key characteristics. My HK would be -3, 0. And my radius is the square root of 20, but I can simplify that. Square root of 20 is 2 times 2 times 5, so 2 radical 5. All right. The circles are not so bad. And neither are the ellipses, they just involve an additional step. So let's take a look at these last two equations. We know they're ellipses because the A value and B value are not equal, but they have the same sign, okay? So, same process though. I'm going to take my x terms and gather them together. So 16x squared plus 32x. I'm going to take my y terms and gather them together. 4y squared plus 24y. And I'm going to move my constant to the other side. I'm going to add 12 to both sides. My positive 12 cancel. I'm sorry? So then I look at, well, I'm going to look at my, yeah, you could, at my first grouping. What is the GCF of my x terms? Well, not the GCF. I just want the A value, 16. So I'm going to pull out the 16, and this will leave me x squared plus 2x, and this is where I leave just a little bit of space. Looking at the b values, looking at the y values, what's the b value? 4. So we're going to pull out a 4, and that leaves me with y squared plus 6y, and this equals 12. All right, so I'm going to complete the square for my x terms. I'm going to bring down half of positive 2 is positive 1, and positive 1 squared is also positive 1. So to keep my equation balanced on the other side of the equal sign, I need to add 16 times 1. For the y term, when I complete the square, I'm going to take half of positive 6 is positive 3. Positive 3 squared is positive 9. And I'm going to add 4 times 9 to the right-hand side. Okay, so I have 12 plus 16 plus 36. So what's 12 plus 16 plus 36? 64. All right, so let me kind of write what I have so far. So I have 16 times x plus 1 quantity squared plus 4 times y plus 3 quantity squared equals, what did you say that was, 64? Okay, so when I'm graphing ellipses, in graphing form, what does the equation have to equal? A 1. Does my equation equal 1? No. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it equal to 1 by dividing by 64. Whatever I do to the right-hand side, though, I do to the left-hand side. So I need to reduce. 16 over 64 reduces to 1/4. Okay, so this will give me x plus 1 quantity squared over 4. And then what does 4 over 64 reduce to? 1 over 16. And then there's 1. So, can you tell me what the center of your ellipse is? -1, -3. What's your x radius? 2. What's your y radius? There you go. So you could now graph that ellipse. Okay. I want to give you a word of caution. As you're going through these, you're going to see a lot of patterns. You're going to see, oh, wait, I see a 4 here that ends up here. And I see a 16 here that ends up down here. And the problems you're going to get, you're going to see that happen a lot. But it will not happen every single time. So go through the steps of dividing and reducing. Okay? Don't just assume, because that will not happen every single time. Okay, last example. Let's see how we do with this last one. Tell me, what do I start by doing? Grouping your x's and grouping your y's. And I'm going to subtract 60 from both sides because I want the constant on the right-hand side. All right, if I look at my x terms, what do I need to pull out of that parentheses? 9. And what does that leave me inside the parentheses? Plus 4x, okay, and a little bit of space. Do I need to pull anything out of this second grouping? I do not, because the y squared term does not have a coefficient, but I'm going to leave a little bit of space. Oh, equals -60. Okay, so now I'm ready to complete my square here. Well, I might have to come down here. So, half of +4 is +2, and +2 squared is +4. So I just added 9 times 4, where I didn't have it before, so I need to balance my equation by adding 9 times 4 to the other side. And then I have my y squared term here. So I'm going to take half of -10, which is -5. And when I square that, I get plus 25. So I'm just adding 25 here also. So I'm going to have -60 plus 36 plus 25. +1? All right. Well, so I know that my ellipses have to equal 1, right? But what's up with that 9? Right, it can't be there. So multiplying by 9 is the same thing. This is where I can take that 9. I did that homework problem, and I can rewrite this as divided by 1/9. Because dividing by 1/9 is the same thing as multiplying by 9 over 1. I'm flipping it. I'm flipping it. Now, does this look a little bit more like the graphing form that you're used to? Could you tell me what the center of this ellipse is? -2, +5. What's my x radius? 1/3. What's my y radius? 1, because over here I have a 1 and the square root of 1 is 1.